Hi, this is Chinmay Desai. Currently, I'm pursuing my master's in construction engineering management from SAPT University. In semester 4, as a part of our study, we have to do the director research project, in which I have taken the topic of identifying the key areas of risk management in aviation projects. My guide for this research is Mr. Digvijay Singh, who is a senior consultant at Ernst& Young LLP. So the flow of the presentation will be like this. So first, I will give you the introduction of this topic. After that, the literature review will be explained. After that, I will be giving the objectives of the my research. The research methodology will be explained after that. And after that, I have taken a one practical case study for this research. It will be explained thoroughly, and the conclusion will be given after that, and the references will be explained afterwards. Airport infrastructure projects such as terminals, runways, taxiways, and support systems are critical enablers of global economic growth, public mobility, and national connectivity. However, these projects are inherently complex due to multiple stakeholders, large financial investments, dynamic regulatory environment, and strict operational safety requirements. Aviation projects are highly susceptible to risks arising from technical challenges, regulatory approvals, environmental impacts, stakeholders' conflicts, and financial uncertainty. Global forecast project infrastructure investment exceeding USD 94 trillion by 2040, with aviation infrastructure commanding a significant share as airports evolve to meet growing air travel demand driven by globalization, urbanization, and technological advances. The complexity and risk exposure of such projects intensify. Inefficient risk management in airport construction can lead to substantial financial losses, operational disruptions, project delays, and reputational damage. In particular, the need of uninterrupted airport operations during construction exacerbates challenges compared to typical infrastructure projects. The aviation sector's safety critical nature imposes additional scrutiny on quality assurance, environmental management, and occupational health and safety practices. Therefore, the implementation of a structured and adaptive risk management framework is vital for achieving project objectives, enhancing operational resilience, and ensuring long term asset sustainability. This study aims to identify key risk areas in airport construction project, assess current risk management practices, develop a structured risk register, and propose corrective and preventive strategies. A case study of a major Indian airport expansion project has been undertaken to validate findings and offer practical recommendations for stakeholders engaged in aviation infrastructure development. The construction industry, known for its inherent uncertainties and dynamic environments, is highly susceptible to a wide variety of risks. These risks are typically categorized as technical, financial, legal, and environmental. Risk management is therefore essential for the success of construction projects, enabling stakeholders to proactively identify, analyze, prioritize, and mitigate potential threats. Past research emphasizes various frameworks and methodologies aimed at improving risk management practices. Alfredo Federico et al. Proposed a knowledge-based risk management framework that integrates modeling, evaluation, and best practices to facilitate decision making. Similarly, Frank Taillandier et al. Introduced the SMAC system multi-agent Borla conception collaborative approach using simulation models to evaluate alternative mitigation strategies in construction environments. The importance of early risk identification was highlighted by Minterona et al., who found that the accuracy of risk assessment depends heavily on the assessor's educational background and inquiry style. Advanced techniques such as Monte Carlo simulations and the envelope method have also been adopted to address time and cost uncertainties in large scale projects. The evolution of construction risk management is increasingly influenced by technological advancements sustainability imperatives, and regulatory pressures. As project complexity grows, there is a stronger need for integrated, agile, and technological enabled risk management systems. Risks in aviation projects span technical, financial, regulatory, environmental, and stakeholder related domains. Technical risks involve complexities such as advanced design specifications, integration of new airport systems, and construction in operational environments. Financial risks stem from inflation, material price volatility, and prolonged project durations. Regulatory risks are heightened by strict aviation authority standards, including those mandated by the International Civil Aviation Organization and Federal Aviation Administration. Environmental and social risks also impact airport projects, especially in terms of land acquisition, noise pollution, and biodiversity concerns. Stakeholder conflicts often arise from misaligned interests among government bodies, private investors, airlines, and local communities. Risk management practices and tools. Use of qualitative and quantitative assessment, risk register, and Monte Carlo simulations deferred by Boyer. Adoption of integrated project delivery and early contract involvement for better collaboration and conflict resolution. Emphasis on strong governance, clear rules, structured decision making, and formal communication. Operational continuity and safety management. Maintaining uninterrupted airport operations during construction is a distinctive risk factor. Most projects adopt phased construction schedules, modular methods, and nighttime work to minimize disruptions. This operational complexity significantly raises safety risks for workers, airport staff, and passengers alike, requiring comprehensive safety management system, frequent audits, and coordinated emergency response protocols. Technological advances in risk management. Digital technologies like BEAM, digital twins, real-time dashboards, AI-driven analytics, enhance forecasting and monitoring. BEAM enables clash detection and design validation. Digital twins simulate progress and allow dynamic risk adjustments, supports continuous learning, and smarter risk mitigation in future projects. The primary objective of this study is to develop a structured and practical framework for risk management in large-scale airport infrastructure projects. The specific research goals are as follows: identification of key risk areas to systematically categorize risk into technical, financial, regulatory, environmental, managerial, and socio-political aspects within aviation projects. Assessment of the risk management practices to evaluate current risk identification analysis and mitigation frameworks employed in airport construction and identify existing gaps and inefficiencies. Risk quantification and prioritization to develop a methodology combining qualitative and quantitative analysis for ranking risks based on probability, severity, and project impact. Development of adaptive risk response strategies to recommend flexible forward-looking strategies including contingency planning, iterative risk assessment, and technological interventions. Through these objectives, the research aims to contribute actionable insight for improving risk management effectiveness, project resilience, and sustainability in aviation infrastructure development. A mixed methods research approach was adapted for this study, combining exploratory, descriptive, and empirical strategies to ensure comprehensive analysis. An extensive literature review was conducted to examine existing theories, models, and practices related to risk management in mega infrastructure projects, with a specific focus on airport construction. This provided a foundational understanding of risk typologies, frameworks, and mitigation techniques. Primary data was collected through structured survey and semi-structured expert interviews with professionals engaged in aviation projects, including project managers, risk analysts, contractors, consultants, and government officials. Secondary data from case studies, industry reports, and audit findings supplemented primary research to enable comparative analysis. An ongoing airport expansion project in India was selected as a case study. Detailed project documentation, interviews, and observational insights were used to validate findings from the literature review and primary data collection. ensuring real-world applicability for the proposed framework. In the case study, the risk identification is done. After the risk identification, as a part of risk assessment, a risk register is prepared, and based on the risk register, the risk mitigation strategies is developed, and the conclusion from the research is given. As a part of an empirical research, a live airport expansion project was selected for in-depth case study analysis. The project, situated in India, aims to enhance the airport's passenger handling capacity to 38.4 million passengers per annum and cargo handling capacity to 0.39 million tons per annum. The project scope covered both airside and landside development, including terminals, runways, taxiways, apron areas, multi-level car parking, air traffic control upgrades, and various support infrastructure components. It involves modernization, augmentation, and upgradation of existing facilities while maintaining uninterrupted airport operations. Stakeholder consultations were conducted with the project's internal team and external auditors to identify critical risk areas, existing control mechanism, and challenges faced during project execution. The methodology adopted for this case study is the following steps. First, the identification of key functional areas including project risks are identified. After that, systematic documentation of observed gaps and risk exposures is done. After that, quantitative and qualitative assessment of risk based on expert feedback. The root cause analysis for identify risk event has been done, and the development of corrective and preventive risk mitigation strategies is identified. Inputs were gathered through structured interviews with the project head, planning head, techno-commercial manager, quality and safety managers, design consultant, and third-party auditors. Through stakeholder consultations and project document reviews, several functional areas critical to risk management were identified. This includes schedule management, in which a review of baseline schedule, resource allocation, and delays of timeline is done. Other is project estimation and cost management, in which evaluation of effectiveness of budget preparation, monitoring, and variance management is done. Other is procurement management, in which assessment of efficiency of bidding process, identity loss of opportunity cost is done. Another is contract management, in which risk related to contract non-compliance is done. Another is a risk management. Risk management plan and adequacy of the existing control is checked. Quality management, safety management, and RABIL certification vendor payments. These are the key areas that has been identified through the consultation with the stakeholders. In each risk areas, the risks are identified. So in RA bill certification vendor payments, the first risk is incomplete compliance verification. So during the RA bill certification process, bills were being forwarded for payment approval without confirming compliance with safety, quality, and HRS requirements. These pose financial exposure due to the risk of overpayment and undetected violations. For instance, safety fines or reductions related to unresolved non-conformances were not systematically applied. The other risk is on incorrect retention deduction. Despite contract clauses specifying 10% retention in cases where the contractor has not submitted the performance bank guarantee, only 5% was deducted across multiple arrays. These under retention compromise the project owner's financial safeguards and recovery options in case of contractor default. The third risk is insurance non-compliance by the contractor. Several contractors failed to maintain active policies for contractors' all risk, workman compensation, ESIC, and the third-party liability insurance. This exposed the client to potential liabilities in case of worker injuries, equipment damage, or Legal claims. Non-compliance was particularly risky given the safety critical nature of the aviation site. Coming to the next key area, that is procurement and contract management. The first risk is delay in PR to PO cycle and the high turnaround time. The large proportion of purchase requests experience significant delays in conversion to purchase order for exceeding acceptable industry benchmarks. These delays caused procurement bottlenecks, led to idle side resources, and increased the risk of cascading schedule delays. The unauthorized issuance of LOI, that is letter of intent, before NFA approval, that is note for approval. In at least three sub-projects, letters of the intent were issued before receiving formal note of approval, violating governance protocols. This not only created unauthorized commercial commitments but also increased the risk of contractual disputes, especially if budgets were later revised or approvals denied. Coming to the quality management, the delay of non-conformances, quality NCs remained unresolved well beyond the industry accepted 60-day closure period. Delayed NCs indicated weak follow-up, poor contractor responsiveness, and heightened risk of defect being embedded into the final works. Some NCs also impacted critical path activities, exacerbating schedule risk. Improper storage of materials. Site inspections revealed that reinforcement wire were stored in the direct contact with the ground, violating IS 4082 standards. Similarly, ceramic tiles were stacked on uneven terrain, leading to breakage. Poor storage practices degraded material quantity, increased wastage, and resulted in unnecessary reprocurement. The safety management, inadequate first aid facilities. Audits of site medical kits showed missing or expired items contrary to the prescribed standard under the Building and Other Construction Workers Act (BOCW Act). This reflected poor readiness for on-site emergencies and increased health and legal liabilities. On-site safety violations. Multiple safety lapses were observed, including workers operating at height without harness, lack of barricades near excavation zone, and improper use of personal protective equipment, that is a PPE. These violations not only endangered lives but also risked halting work due to potential labor inspections and accidents. Coming to the schedule management, poor schedule integrity. The master schedule lacked integration between critical sub-packages, leading to the siloed tracking. Sub-project dependencies were either missing or not clearly defined. This created inefficiencies in the resource allocation and delayed identification of potential delays or clashes. Project delays due to the external dependencies. Critical activities such as utility diversion and the final design approval face recurring delays, inadequate contingency planning, and lack of early coordination with government authorities and statutory bodies led to avoidable time losses and escalated the risk of missing handover deadlines. In the project risk management area, the failure to document project specific risk. The project relied on a template risk register that lacked site specific customization. It failed to capture emerging and location specific risks such as local labor unrest, delayed land clearance, or monsoon related challenges. There was no structured process for quarterly or milestone based risk review. Risk once unidentified remained static, reducing the ability to proactively manage dynamic threats such as contractor financial health or unforeseen regulatory changes. The part of risk assessment, risk register is prepared, incorporating the key area, risk title, risk category, probability and impact, and the multiplication of probability and impact, which gives us the severity of the risk. Further, the risk is divided into the risk level, in which the high risk indicate the immediate mitigation required, and medium risk indicate active monitoring and corrective actions needed, and low risk indicating periodic monitoring sufficient. After that, the risk owner is identified in front of every risk. After the preparation of the risk register, the results were shown in the pie chart and bar chart, in which one can see that the highest percentage of the risk are medium risk, which contributes to the 68% of the risk. If we see the risk numbers by the category, then the financial category has the highest risk, which leads to some of the major financial loopholes for the project. Coming to the key area-wise risk assessment, so the highest number of risk towards the quality management, which is very crucial, and the major high risks are for the arable certification area, in which the major financial problem can happen. As a part of a risk analysis, So in every risk area, after identification of risk and making of the risk register, for each risk root cause has been identified. So for the missing approvals during RABL certification, the root cause was the lack of integrated compliance workflow. So the RABL process operated in silos with quality, safety, and HR teams not fully embedded in the final certification cycle. There was no structured checklist to verify compliance across all departments before forwarding for the financial approvals. The other risk, incorrect retention deduction. The root cause for this is absence of system validation for retention. So the billing systems lacked automated check for enforce contractual terms like 10% retention in case of missing PBG. Manual oversight allowed consistent under deductions. The third risk regarding the RABL certification is non-compliance with the insurance obligation. The root cause for this is weak enforcement of insurance compliance. While contract clauses mandated insurance, there were no periodic audits or blocking mechanism in place to suspend work for unissued contractors. This led to the unchecked non-compliance. Coming to the procurement and contract management, the high tech from PR to PO, the root cause for that is cumbersome internal approval hierarchy, which means the delegation of authority metrics involved multiple layers of approval, often with unclear timelines or overlapping responsibilities, causing delays in procurement. The other risk is issuance of LOI, that is letter of intent before NFA approval. The root cause for that is informal insurance culture for LOIs. In some cases, project pressure led techno-commercial teams to issue LOIs based on the verbal assurances of approval rather than waiting for formal NFA sign-offs, violating governance norms. Coming to the quality management, the delayed closure of NCs, the root cause for that is lack of ownership for NC closures. So the contractors viewed NCs as a documentation issues rather than actionable work items. Project engineers failed to follow up or escalate closure delays beyond 60 days. That's other risk is improper storage of construction materials. The root cause for that is non-adherence to the IS storage guidelines. There are limited awareness and enforcement of IS 4082 norms for stacking and storage. No SOP or training existed for on-site material handlers. Coming to the safety management, the missing items in the first aid box, the root cause for that is incomplete medical preparedness. First aid kits were not periodically audited, and no designated staff were trained in emergency response, increasing health risk during incidents. The second risk is serious on site safety violations. The root cause for that is insufficient safety supervision. Safety teams were understaffed relative to the scale of the project. Routine safety walks were either skipped or superficial. Penalties for repeat violations were inconsistently applied. For the schedule management, the first risk is poor schedule integrity. The root cause for that is disjointed schedule planning. Each package contractor submitted individual timelines, but there was no integration into a master baseline. Dependencies between the work packages were not mapped, making critical path tracking ineffective. The anticipated 5-month project delay, the root cause for this risk is lack of early stakeholder engagement. Approvals from the local authorities, for example, utility agencies and municipality bodies, were not initiated early enough, resulting in holdups once execution started. The other risk regarding the risk management is failure to document project specific risk. So the root cause for that is absence of periodic risk review guidance. There were no mandatory risk review checkpoints tied to project milestone or monthly progress meetings. This meant emerging risks were either missed or not escalated in time. After finding the uh, root cause for the each risk, the mitigation strategies has been identified, and as a part of mitigation strategies, first the corrective action is given, and the preventive action is also given to prevent this kind of happening in the future. So for the missing approvals during the arable certification, the corrective action would be to immediately review all certified arables from the past quarter to ensure retroactive compliance. The preventive action for this would be to implement a digital checklist driven arable workflow with mandatory sign-offs for quality, safety, and HR before payment approval. Coming to the next risk, that is incorrect retention deduction. The corrective action would be to recalculate the retention shortfall for all previous array bills and initiate recovery process from upcoming bills or finance settlement. The preventive action would be the aimed retention logic within the billing software based on PBG status. For the risk non-compliance with insurance obligation, the corrective action would be to issue immediate notices to non-compliant contractors and request updated insurance documentation. The preventive action would be to maintain a centralized insurance compliances tracker with automatic alerts for expiry dates. Coming to the next key areas, that is procurement and contract management. The risk is high tide for PR2PO. The corrective action for that is to prioritize fast tracking of current pending PRs and especially those breaching that turnaround time. The preventive action for that is to set internal service level agreement timelines for each step PR to NFA and PR2PO and monitor via dashboards. The corrective action for issuance of LOI before NFA approval is to void the unauthorized LOIs and revalidate all the issued commitments. Also, the preventive action would be to implement system level restrictions in the procurement module to prevent LOI issuance before NFA upload. Coming to the quality management, the delayed closure of non-compliances, the corrective action for that would be to prioritize and close long pending NCs within a set timeline. And to prevent this action, implement a robust tracking system with automated alerts for NC deadlines. Improper storage of construction materials. The corrective action would be to immediately reorganize the material storage zones to comply with the IS 4082 standards. And to prevent this risk, designate specific and marked zones for each material category with signage and elevation platform. To the safety management, the risk is missing items in first aid box. For this, corrective action would be to immediately restock all the first aid kits as per the BSW Schedule 3. The preventive action would be to appoint trained safety wardens responsible for weekly first aid kit inspection. In addition to that, appoint trained safety wardens responsible and the conduct monthly health and safety drills to ensure preparedness. Also to integrate first aid compliance in contractor onboarding and evaluation. Coming to the second risk, that is serious on-site safety violation, the corrective action would be to suspend work in high-risk zones until safety conditions are rectified. The preventive action would be to implement a no PPA, no work policy strictly enforced by the safety officers. Also conduct daily safety briefings and random site inspection. Also install safety signage for protection system and industrial grade electrical enclosures. Coming to the schedule management, for the poor schedule integrity, the corrective action would be to rebaseline the schedule by removing excessive float, refining activity breakdowns, and correcting logic relationships. The preventive action would be to institutionalize schedule health checks monthly using tools like Primavera P6. Also provide training on DCMA metrics and critical path method scheduling. Use standard schedule templates validated by the project management organization. For the anticipated delay, the corrective action would be to resequence critical path activities to reduce the impact on airport operations, and the preventive action would be to integrate buffer strategies and night shift planning for high impact areas, coordinate daily with airport operations to plan work windows, incorporate early warning indicators in the TPR MPR formats. Coming to the risk management, the risk is failure to document project specific risk. The corrective action would be to conduct immediate risk workshops with each functional team, procurement, construction, quality assurance, etc. The preventive action would be to implement monthly cross functional risk review meetings. Also, to assign a risk coordinator to track, update, and escalate risk items, and to train project teams on risk identification and register maintenance. After this research, one can conclude that the high risk accounts for 68% of total risk, medium risk accounts for 29% of the total risk, and low risk account for 2% of the total risk. The key functional areas with highest risk are quality and safety management, RABL certification and procurement, and risk management and schedule management. So the findings underscore the necessity of adopting a structured and proactive risk a management approach, one that emphasizes early risk identification, fosters cross disciplinary collaboration, and ensures continuous monitoring throughout the project lifecycle. Such an approach enables stakeholders to anticipate potential challenges, implement timely interventions, and maintain control over complex project dynamics. By applying the preventive and corrective measures outlined in this study, stakeholders can significantly strengthen their ability to navigate uncertainties, mitigate disruptions, and enhance the reliability and efficiency of the aviation infrastructure initiatives. The proposed risk register and assessment model not only provide a practical framework for evaluating and prioritizing risks, but also serve as replicable tools that can be customized and implemented across similar projects. Ultimately, this research advocates for institutionalizing risk governance and cultivating a culture of accountability, foresight, and resilience in the management of large scale aviation projects. Thank you.